going into the last match day of the competition, of the league phase, I should say, we have 8 teams in the mix at 13 points to qualify for automatic qualification spots. Now, just for everyone to remember, that means that they skip those 2 extra games that you have in the playoff. And then if you're in the top 8, you don't have to play those. So, I mean, Dad, I think we're seeing a much more competitive field now with this new league phase when a lot of people, I think, were concerned with it at first. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it sure seems that way. I mean, it's one Champions League season, not even completed yet. It appears more competitive, but clearly I'd like to see a couple of more seasons under this format if they'll actually stick with it and not change it again. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. And I think if there truly is going to be more competition going forward, I think that's good. I don't think you want the same 5 teams dominating. So I'm a fan of it. I love to see it continue.
Yeah, Dad, and I think it's the mix of teams that are being competitive. Like the teams that are in the top 8 right now. I mean, Newcastle's in the top 8, which is great to see. Sporting Lisbon, not in the top 8, but on 13 points. Atalanta, also on 13 points. I mean, these are teams you wouldn't typically see maybe getting out of a Champions League group stage all the time. But now, not only are they probably going to get out, they also could automatically qualify and skip a couple extra games for them and get some more revenue in at the end of the day because, the higher that you finish up, the more revenue you're getting in as well, Dad. But, I mean, this has got to be crucial for a lot of teams, Dad, missing those extra games, right?
Absolutely. Many of these teams are in multiple competitions beyond the Champions League and their domestic league, right? Teams like Arsenal and City and so on, they've at least 2 other tournaments they're in. And so to have 2 additional games that they don't have to play, right? Like Arsenal's in the midst of playing Chelsea, right? And they have to play the second leg of that tournament. And so, yeah, having those 2 games off, like that could make or break our team's season, or at least for a tournament or another one, right? So it's big. I don't think it's necessarily going to ruin a team's chances to win the Champions League, but it's going to certainly make the road a lot harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw last year, Dad, that being number 1 in the table or being in the top 8 doesn't necessarily mean everything. Liverpool lost in their first round game for them against PSG, who ended up winning the whole thing. So obviously it doesn't mean everything to your point, but for those teams competing on multiple fronts, I think it's a huge advantage to them, especially as, players have already played probably close to 40 games in the season, and, we're only in January. Is that, it's just crazy to think about. But, Dad, out of some of these teams, who could you see kind of claiming those last few spots? I have an inkling it's going to be the PSGs and the Man Cities and the Atletico Madrids, but do you think anyone sneaks in there like a Newcastle?
I think it'd be great to see a team like Newcastle slip in there, or any teams that don't typically get into those top 8 slots. That's a big deal. I believe the Premier League is the strongest league in the world, so I certainly wouldn't be surprised if a team like Newcastle got in there. You've got Chelsea and Barcelona and all that. I think you mentioned Sporting and Atalanta. Once again, I think it's good for football if some of these teams that don't typically perform at a high level get there. It's good for those fans. It's good for those leagues. So I think I'd like to see some new customers, not the same teams that you'd expect all the time. But if I was betting on it, I'd probably bet on a lot of the usual customers.
Absolutely, and I think to your point, Dad, the Premier League is definitely flexing its muscles this year, with the amount of teams in the competition and most of their rankings being within the top 16, I'd say, if not all of them being in the top 16. So it really kind of goes to show these teams are here to play. But, to your point, Dad, it's great seeing some of these smaller teams also get a win. Not an underdog for either of us this week, but, Sporting beat PSG 2-1 this week as well. I mean, that's a huge win for them, and it shows they're competitive here, and the system is somewhat working, which I guess is the biggest thing we can say. But Dad, how about potential teams that could miss out on the knockout stages completely? And we're talking Napoli, Serie A champions last year, and Benfica, who I think were second or third in the Portuguese league last year, also potentially missing out. I mean, those are some big names that could miss out entirely because of how competitive it's become.
Well, Napoli's missing De Bruyne, right?
Yeah, I think he's been out for at least a couple months now with that hamstring, which makes
And
it
and
different.
obviously he isn't the entire team, and I know they did well without him last year. But to me, it feels like that is a major loss. And I know every team deals with major injuries, lots of injuries. There's charts for leagues and which teams have had the most injury minutes missed and all this kind of stuff. But it feels to me like perhaps Napoli's in some trouble this year because to me, just having watched De Bruyne for years at City, even though he's new to the squad, that's got to be a big letdown for them. And it doesn't seem like they've been able to recover at this point. And I don't see what would necessarily, unless they have some kind of signing in the window, I don't see why they would suddenly change up what they've been doing in the Champions League so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to your point, Dad, he's such an instrumental piece as a leader in the team, even though he's new. But also, it's a squad depth issue because now your second guy is your first guy. And is there anyone behind him to back him up? And who's tired in the team? Or the tactics changing? It does completely change the squad. But you have to say, a team that won Serie A last year, you'd expect to be doing better than Karabag, who's above them in the table. No disrespect against the Azerbaijani club, but that's a pretty stark difference, I'd say, in terms of how renowned the club is. And I mean, same with Benfica. I can't say as much about them as I don't watch the Portuguese league enough, but you probably expect them with their prowess and the amount of money they have over some of these clubs to be doing better, don't you think?
Well, I'm cheating here a little bit, just looking at the Serie A table. I mean, Napoli is in third place in Serie A, so clearly they're not out of that competition by any means. But something's not going right in the Champions League. Have not had a chance to watch them directly, I remember plenty of years where Arsenal didn't even qualify for the Champions League, or when they did, they would not perform particularly well. I think it's hard to perform well every single year in every single tournament. So,
Yeah.
Maybe they're saving some of their guys more for their domestic league. I mean, obviously, Champions League is a bigger deal, but it's not uncommon for a powerful team to underperform in certain competitions.
Absolutely, and I think it just goes to show, Dad, the teams that are at the very top right now, at the upper echelon, your Arsenals, your Bayerns, your Real Madrids, Liverpool's even, if you want to throw them in there, that squad depth is gigantic because it gives those guys that extra time to rest, and they don't have to play every minute of every game. And I mean, it shows in these competitions, and at the end of the day, it's the Champions League. I mean, it's not taking any prisoners. It's supposedly the best teams in Europe, potentially even the world, playing, week in, week out against each other. Long trips, home and away. It's tough. So I think you're completely spot on there, Dad. But I think we will see Napoli make it in, and I think we also will see some of those smaller teams take those automatic qualifying spots. I'm kind of hoping for Sporting. I don't know if there's anyone you're pushing for to kind of sneak in for fun.
Well, it ain't going to happen, but our friends at Kairat Almaty, oof, it's been a rough go. I think they play Arsenal next week or soon. It's been
At
a
the
rough go
Emirates.
for them. Are they literally at the
Yeah,
bottom of the Champions League table?
they are. And, I mean, they have 1 point, so they did get a draw. I can't remember against who, but, I think they probably saw it coming, but good on them for, still competing and representing is it Kazakhstan? I believe it's Kazakhstan. I don't want to mess up the
Yeah.
country, but good for them for representing Kazakhstan.
The
Maybe
dream
not the
did not
best.
last long.
No, no, but they can end it. They can end it on a fun note. Going to the Emirates, maybe the best team in Europe right now. So we'll
Maybe.
see.
I think it's an absolute yes that they're the best right now.
I just
Best in
have
the
to be.
world,
I have to
honestly.
try and be a little impartial, I guess. But even
Well, I
being
mean,
impartial, they are the best right
I've
now.
got some, club ranking websites, which I know are not perfect, but they seem to be saying that Arsenal is the best team as of now.